The topic I'm going to be talking about today is a very sensitive topic in the bodybuilding world, and especially amongst young guys. And that topic is, in fact, steroids. Okay, and this isn't because I've hopped on. I'm completely natural. That's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to educate you guys on steroids because obviously it's fantastic that not many people are lying about being on steroids anymore. Obviously there's so many people you see on Instagram that they're most definitely on steroids and all that stuff, but there's so many more people that are open about their steroid usage and actually educate people on steroids, which is really, really good. It's really, really positive, but at the same time steroids are now being glorified, and this is probably the worst thing that can happen because these kids on social media um are they're seeing this stuff, and they're seeing how obviously steroids, obviously there are benefits of steroids. You repair quicker than ever, right? You grow muscle at an absolute ridiculous rate. You feel good temporarily, right? I personally, obviously, I've never been on steroids and I don't plan on it, so I can't tell you from personal experience. But from what I know and from what I have educated myself with on the topic, obviously, it helps you in the gym. It helps your progress in the gym. Therefore, that's why professional bodybuilders take it, because their goal is to put on as much muscle as possible. Therefore, that is why they take steroids, right? But the subject of this video is basically to target. Obviously, I'm assuming that you're a skinny young guy clicking this video because that's who I direct my content to. So I just want to educate you guys about steroids and how actually how dangerous they are, and you guys don't necessarily realize how dangerous they are because it's not necessarily talked about. And I think usually whenever people try and talk about the dangers of steroids, social media either just shadow ban it, or it's not really put out there enough. So obviously you've got the good side of steroids. So you grow muscle, you repair quicker than ever, so you can train harder, and obviously, yeah, you can train harder, you can last longer in the gym, all of that good stuff. But people don't see the bad side of stuff, and people don't see the reality of steroids. People don't consider the reality of pinning their shoulders every day, injecting synthetics into their body every day. People don't consider injecting into their shoulders and their glutes and all of the common places people inject their steroids into. They don't consider doing that every day. They don't consider that. They don't even think about that. And I'll be honest with you, when I was really roped into social media and really just like brain rotted like 2 years ago, I didn't even consider that when I saw people on steroids. And then you know, I was speaking to someone about it, and it got brought up in the conversation, and I was like, shit, I completely forgot about that side of steroids, and that's actually the reality. Social media doesn't show you everything, and that's with social media as a whole in general as well. Social media doesn't show you the full picture. It only glorifies the shit, right? Obviously, there's stuff about how steroids are bad, no, that's good, but it's not pushed out, and people don't realize it enough. And you young men, this generation, don't realize the danger of steroids, because now there's 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds hopping on steroids, and it's so sad to see. Because first of all, I just want to go through how when you're young you're immature, right? You may call yourself mature, but you're not mature. Okay, I call myself mature as a 19-year-old because in my opinion I think I am pretty mature. But in 3 years time I'm going to look back at myself and I'm going to be a lot more mature, and I'm going to look back at myself now and think, was I really mature? Right? you know and you see yourself as a 13-year-old like, I'm mature. But what you don't realize is, because you're immature, you can't make decisions properly, and your brain and yourself is still fully developing. Therefore, you're going to be changing, your hormones are changing, and obviously you're growing up. Therefore, you're going to have different interests, and you're going to start to want to go down different paths in your life, maybe, perhaps. When everyone starts playing football when they're young, for example, they don't necessarily keep going when they're 20, right? A lot of people just lose love for the game and they want to do different things. And in this situation, if you want to hop on steroids when you're 13, you may not want to do it next week, right? When you're young, you make the most irrational decisions ever, right? You think you want to do something, but then next week you're like, oh, I don't really want to do it. right? It's like when you're a young kid and you buy some putty, or you buy you buy a toy in the shop, for example. You may not want it next week. You just want it in the moment. You make extremely irrational decisions. And it's like, if you're 13 and you want to hop on steroids, you may not necessarily be into the gym in like a month or two, right? So you're too young to make decisions. So you need to let yourself mature, and you need to let yourself grow up before you make these huge decisions. Because what you may not necessarily realize is that literally one injection changes your hormones for the rest of your fucking life, right? And if you're a 13-year-old making these irrational, immature decisions, and in a month's time you may not necessarily want to be on this shit, and you get rid of it, then it's too late, mate. You've changed your hormones for the rest of your life. And that's something that I want to get into as well. How one injection changes your life completely, right? And people don't realize this. And I've heard someone I know, actually they don't know this, right? But I heard someone told me someone I know wants to actually, hop on a cycle and do steroids as an experiment. An experiment, okay? And if this person is watching this, and if you know who you are, then please just fucking look at yourself, okay? Like, please just realize that it's not an experiment. You're playing with your hormones for the rest of your life here. One injection completely changes your life. And if you're contemplating taking steroids as a 15-year-old, please just realize that one injection can change your hormones for the rest of your life, and can change you for the rest of your life. And another thing that I want to get onto as well is the side effects. People respond very, very differently to steroids, okay? Obviously you see your Chris Bumsteads, obviously you see your Derek Lunsfords, obviously you see your Mike Mentzes and your Dorian Yateses, and all the great bodybuilders that are absolute legends and they've had the best physiques of all time. Obviously you see them, but they've responded really, really well to steroids. That's literally the highest the best you can possibly get, right? And you're obviously shown to that. In comparison to, you don't necessarily see the other 99% of people on steroids and how they respond to it, and how they may not necessarily get as big as you think they are. It's so bad on social media how nowadays how the standard of an average physique has gone. Like, most people think an average physique is a steroided physique, but then if you see them in real life, you're going to be like, what the fuck, you're massive, right? The standard of a good physique on social media has changed so much nowadays, and this is probably why so many young kids are going on hopping on steroids, because they're exposed to it so much. And it's just all a complete mess in my opinion. I'm going off on a complete tangent in this video, and I hope you guys are still here, and I hope you guys are actually taking in information. I don't necessarily want this video to be shining a bad light on steroids, because I don't I, I'm I'm not trying to shine a good light. I'm not trying to shine a bad light on steroids in this video. This video is basically just to educate you guys. I don't want to shine a good light or a bad light on this topic. I just want to educate you guys on a reality, because the reality, as much as people are open about their steroid usage and stuff, people don't know about the realities of it. It's a dark, dark fucking world, okay? You've got your A-class steroids such as Trenbolone, and people joke, and that's another thing as well. Sorry, I want to get on to before I go on about that. People joke about training on social media and steroids, but obviously I've done it in my time, but I've come to realization that it's not a joke, right? As I said, one injection changes your life, and steroids can literally make you go insane. Steroids they can make you angrier and more agitated as a person. They change who you are as a person as well. So you've got to know the realities before you decide to inject steroids, right? And back to what I was saying about the A-class drugs. So you've got your Trenbolone and all that stuff, and as I was saying, how it changes you as a person, right? I've literally heard stories of people saying that they've had to go off trend because they've literally gone like insane, right? They've actually gone insane. It's not a joke. Steroids aren't a joke, right? You see people online joking about them, but that's not the reality, okay? You're going to get big, but at what cost, right? You've got to think about that. You've got to think of, there's two sides to everything, right? As one of Newton's laws says, I'm not necessarily sure which one it is, every action has an equal or opposite reaction. So you inject in your shoulder, but at what cost, right? You've got to you've got to start taking care of your health. You've got to be injecting all the time. You've got to be taking care of your blood work all the time. You've got to be doing all of this stuff. You don't even realize it. It's not as simple as just injecting it into your body and lifting weights. You've actually got to take care of yourself, because if you don't, then you're gonna fucking die. right? Because of the health effects and then the negative effects steroids brings to your body and that PEDs do to your body, right? You've just got to know the reality, okay? And one more thing that I want to go into this video, in this quick little rant, I would say, about steroids and this generation, and that you need to understand the reality is that so many young kids are hopping on now without building the foundations and actually without even going past their newbie game stage, right? I'm personally 3.5 years into my gym journey, and I've transformed myself naturally from this in 2021 to this in 2024, and I've gained 25 kilos naturally. And people just want to hop on steroids when they look like this, right? When they haven't even built the foundations, right? And it's just absolutely awful because they end up, obviously they're on steroids, they're literally playing with their life and they don't know how to lift properly, they don't know what they're doing, they haven't got a consistent routine, and they're just on steroids playing with their life, right? So you've got to be building the foundations before you even consider hopping on steroids. So if you're 13, no. If you're 4, no. If you're 15, no. It genuinely really makes me upset seeing these 13-year-old kids hop on steroids because their favorite influencers do. You've got the likes of, for example, people like Togi nowadays. I think he's an idiot. He's doing his thing, but I think he's an absolute donkey. So just take this video how you want to take it, and I hope this has given you I hope I've delivered the message I'm trying to deliver, as how I'm not trying to shine steroids in a good light, or equally I'm not trying to shed steroids in a bad light. I'm just trying to educate you guys on the reality of steroids, how you may not necessarily think of how you've got to inject a needle into your body every day. You don't necessarily think of the mental side effects, especially the physical side effects, and you may not think of how you're going to respond to it, and you may not think of how big of a commitment it is, because once you inject once into your body, it changes your body for the rest of your life. For example, I don't know if you know this guy or not, but Oliver Forslin, he's like 22 and he's already on testosterone replacement therapy, and this is because he abused steroids so much when he was young. I'm pretty sure he was on when he was like 17, right? And he was on for like a few years, right? And at that age, he was blasting so much to the point where, and that's another thing as well about steroids, the more you put of it in your body, the more it kills your natural production. Therefore, he literally had zero natural test producing in his body. Therefore, he had to hop on testosterone replacement therapy. Therefore, injecting test into him all the time. Do you know how shit that must have made him feel? Now I don't think he's on it anymore because his test levels have revived because he's very young. So he's really lucky, right? But just think, if you inject once, then that's a life-changing decision, and you've got to know that if you want to go on steroids. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video and truly taken something away and actually learned something, because I'm genuinely really passionate about bodybuilding. I love the gym so much, and I just want to make sure people are actually doing the right thing and they're not hopping into any stupid decisions which can actually have an impact on their life for their entire life, right? And I genuinely want to help people as much as possible, and I genuinely just want to educate them as much as possible and help people make as much progress as possible. And by understanding, this whole steroids concept and what, the reality of steroids is, it's extremely important, because obviously, when you get down the line, you're most definitely gonna start thinking about, what would happen if you hopped on steroids, right? I know, like, when I reach my natural potential, I'm going to start thinking about it. I'm going to start contemplating it. But you've got to think of the reality of steroids before you actually commit to anything, okay? Because it's a life-changing decision, okay? Yeah, I'm natural, and I'm most likely going to stay natural for the rest of my life, because I think about longevity, and I don't think I'm going to pursue a career in bodybuilding. As much as I'm passionate about it, I don't think I'm going to pursue a career in it. I want to live with my kids as long as I can. I want to spend as much time with my grandkids as much as I can. So I don't think I'm going to do it. But each of their own. But just, if you're 13, just just don't do it, right? Just don't do it. So if you have enjoyed this video, then I'd really appreciate it if you guys could leave a like, a comment, and a subscription down below, because the algorithm can recommend me to you more. I can educate you more, I can be your teacher, and I can help you sculpt your physique as a skinny young man. And it helps me out a ton, And I don't think I said it at the beginning of the video, but I've really recently just launched my very own free online community on a platform called School. It's called the Slim to Sculpt Alliance. It's completely free and it aims to help and inspire and educate skinny young men in their pursuit to sculpting their physiques. As you guys saw throughout the video, my transformation, I was once a skinny guy myself 3.5 years ago. So I want to help as many people and just change their lives, because it's genuinely changed my life and opened my eyes up to what's actually possible in life. And if you start taking care of yourself physically, then the quality of your life is going to 10x, right? So if you're a skinny guy and you're a little bit confused, you're a little bit lost, and you really want to sculpt your physique and make changes for the better, and if all of that ticks all your boxes, then it's going to be the top link in the description. And without further ado, I will see you guys in the next video.